There we go. Oh, we get a little notice about that too now. Great.
I just want to let you know that I have terrible internet. I'm in Lac Squams, British Columbia, and so if I kick out, it's just because it keeps going.
Okay. If you want to call in, that's no problem too. Whatever.
There's actually no phone service here except for landline, and I landline. So this is it or nothing.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for letting us know. All right, we do have Toby on the line for a couple of the items we have later on in the agenda. And I see that Alana has joined us now as well. So for everyone's information, we are recording and streaming live. So we can call to order for tonight. It is 7:02 p.m. And so we do have an item to add to the agenda. In the in-camera items, there will be a second item, so 13.1 and 13.2. Otherwise, I'm not aware if there's any changes to the agenda. Does council have any? Seeing none. All right, with that, I'll look for a mover of the agenda with the addition. Moved by Councillor Salatke, seconded by Councillor Loreen. And all in favor?
Oh, Mr. Kruger had his hand up there for a second while you.
Oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead, Toby.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I was just going to suggest perhaps Grant could email me or text me, or you could, Mayor, once we get to my items on the agenda, and I'll leave you to do business until then.
Sure, we can do that.
Okay, perfect. So I'll be expecting an email or text from one of you then.
Okay, sounds great. Grant will look after
it. Thank you.
All right, so then we will call to a vote for the adoption of the agenda. All in favor?
Yes.
And Kurt is frozen, but that moves. All right. Declaration of conflict of interest or pecuniary interest. None. All right, delegations, presentations, or petitions. We do not have any this evening. Public question period. I'll just confirm with SAO Hood whether we've received anything.
I have not received anything.
Thank you. And on to the adoption of the minutes of the September 8th, 2021 council meeting. May I have a mover of the minutes, please? Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Deputy Mayor Barlock. Any discussion, questions, comments on the minutes? None. All in favor of moving them?
Yes.
So moved. Thank you very much. Next up, we have our action items. Again, there's been a few updates throughout, so I'll entertain any discussion here. Deputy Mayor Barlock.
Yeah, I had a couple. First one on number 3, we had a target date of September 30th with the respect to whether development fee applications would be returned to an applicant who's been denied. I don't know if we were any further ahead on getting a response to that. And then the second one also is a bit about the timing with the solid waste disposal facility, item number 5. We had a target for the end of October to deal with this item, but essentially we've canceled our second meetings in October. So would this item be ready for the next meeting in the beginning of October, or is this going to be something that ends up being deferred to the next council?
I can hopefully answer number 5. The targeted date for October was because to give them enough time, so it would certainly go to the next council. Number 3, on the other hand, I'll have to ask Grant. I don't know where that one stands as of right now.
We're just still finalizing that one, still for the time frame. So we'll have something for the October 13th meeting. I will mention that number 5, what's there is we are currently working on revising the tender documents to bring them up to date in a more acceptable form and easier to read. So they will be going out shortly to get see what the pricing is on that.
Okay, sorry, just to follow up on that too with respect to the timing. I know in the initial discussions about doing this, there was some thought to trying to have this item come before this council because we have some familiarity with the, all the issues with respect to the landfill management, rather than have it go to the next council. So I just want to confirm again, just the way things are going, looks like it's going to end up on the next council's table.
It will
Yeah,
be,
so
go ahead.
Well, it's a full assessment of even whether we continue to use a contractor or take it over ourselves. So it's, yeah, whether it's, I don't think it can happen in the time that this council has left, my personal opinion. And in order to have a good discussion on it, we need the admin to be in the best place with it as well. So Grant, go ahead if you want to.
No, I was just going to say there's some factors as far as getting the tender out. We're making some adjustments on it and going through that and then get it reviewed quickly by the lawyers just to make sure we haven't missed anything. But all intents and purposes, it's very similar to whatever. And moving it to the next council, I don't think will be a big issue. And we can just explain it at that point in time anyways.
Okay, yeah, I just want to confirm whether we had a big item coming up on our last set of meetings there.
And I believe Councillor Wood, you had your hand up as well.
Yes, item number 4. Have we ever received a response? And if we haven't, are we following up with this?
So as far as I know, we have not. Now, Grant and I did have an in-person meeting with administration over at the hospital, and they were going to carry it to the contractor as it is actually them who holds the contract. So certainly we could follow up on that end here. But Grant, I'll just confirm, is that where we stand on that?
We have not received a response from anybody. I know that the one person that at the hospital who is responsible for the contract is away at the moment, but I will send some further correspondence to see what we can get.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further from council on the action items list? All right. So on to new business. 8.1 is the funding agreement for the solid waste expansion project. Recommendation here is that Inuvik Town Council hereby approves the contribution agreement under the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program for funding in the amount of $600,000. May I have a mover, please? By Councillor Wood and the seconder, Deputy Mayor Barlock. So this item is now on the table for discussion. It is some exciting news. This is funding that we've been talking about for quite a few years to fence the dump or the solid waste site in order to help reduce the bear population out there. So if there are any clarifications from SAO HUD or any explanations here that you wanted to go over.
No, I think we've discussed this item before. Obviously, the work will be starting in the February-March timeframe. The first part will be doing some brushing to as far as the expansion goes and accessibility around where the fencing is, and then once we get into the proper construction season for putting up the fencing, that will be the next step. We are currently working with our engineers to come up with a proper tender as well for the scope of work for the project, and that will be, I guess, the next item.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council on the item? Deputy Mayor Barlock.
There we go. Not so much questions as comments, as I'm sure a number of you are going to be carrying on to the next council. This is going to be a pretty significant item for the next council when this fence does get installed. There are still a fairly large number of bears accessing the landfill, including mothers with cubs. So they are being trained as their main food source. And I know the town administration has been working with ENR and some of the Indigenous organizations on this item. It's going to require a large communication effort on behalf of the town and the other partners, because when this fence goes up, it has the potential to displace quite a large number of grizzly bears, potentially into the community. Luckily for the town, we have been doing a number of things like putting in the bear-proof bins around town ahead of this happening. So It reduces the food reward that the bears may experience by coming into town, which will reduce the incentive for them to come in. But there is a potential for at least a year, maybe even two, where a large number of bears may be coming into the community, which would be a potentially large safety concern. I will still be involved in my other capacity in my job, so you'll still be probably seeing me kicking around on this issue. But I think, again, just to reiterate, the town, as well as the other partners, are going to have to do a lot of work to communicate with the community to make sure everybody is ready for the potential for all those bears to be coming into the community. There's also a slight possibility that none of them may come in at all, but you never know until it happens. So I'm glad to see this fence going up, because I think it's sorely needed for the community safety in the long term. They have had a lot of success with these in the Yukon in particular, where pretty much all their landfills in all the communities there are fenced, and they really minimized any bear problems they have in those communities, after the first year or two in some cases. But usually once the bears realize they can't get into the landfill anymore, they don't come around. But the ones that are already conditioned on being in there are the ones that may be a problem. Because the other side of this too is due to that safety aspect, and the bears coming in, there may be a large number of bears that have to be dispatched, which is a public relations issue. But it's all about public safety. So
Great.
good
Thank
luck,
you.
and make sure you let people know what's going on well ahead of time.
All right. Thank you for the advice, and I'm sure you'll be part of that process from under your other hat. So, any further questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, so it is on the table. All in favor? So moved. Next up, we have the amendment to the Personnel Directive. So recommendation is that Inuvik Town Council hereby approves of amending the Personnel Directive Policy HR 012, Article 1401, and the Part-Time, Casual, and Seasonal Personnel Directive Policy HR 013, Article 10.01, to add September 30th as a designated paid holiday for the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. May I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Sawatzky. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none. All right. So with that, we can call to a vote. All in favor?
Yes.
So moved. Thank you. I do not have bylaws or department head reports this evening. The strategic priorities chart was included. I do believe we are in a position to remove item number 5, which was the school zones. So with council's go ahead this evening, we can ask administration to go ahead and update the chart in that way. Maybe just a quick show of hands to say that you agree that that's a good idea. Doesn't require a full vote. All right, thank you. And then we had the thank you, Alana. And then we had the Aurora Research Institute, various projects. Under council concerns, I just wanted to take a quick moment to acknowledge the hard work of all our staff and volunteers who pulled off an amazing fall fair. There was a lot of people there, probably the biggest gathering that we've had since the pandemic hit, and people were extremely courteous. They were wearing their masks. They were aware of each other in the space, and I think it went off really, really well. Our team should be applauded for all the work that went into it, not only, of course, in our economic and tourism department, but actually all departments came together to pull this one off, from setup to takedown. So kudos to our whole team who made this happen for our community. So thank you. Are there other items under council concerns? Councilor Wayne.
I don't know how many years in a row I've been asking, but we need some kind of walking trail from alongside Navy Road to Stanton's. It's the dark season, and it's getting to be, there's lots of people work out that way, and they're all on the road. I think we need a walking trail for Stanton's for people going shopping from like the end of what's the street there? So it's alongside of Navy from Wolverine to Wolverine Street past the pump shacks into Stanton's there. And another one that was brought to my attention was a lot of people walking the bypass, and maybe in the future we can look at making our
You're cutting
bypass.
out.
There's so many people walk the bypass now. There's so many people that walk the bypass. And that we should look future of making walking trails alongside the bypass there, because they're making just like the rest of our walking trails in town, like there's a lot of people that walk the bypass every day. It's just a thought for future, if we can get funding or something for walking trails. We look at the bypass and that new one that goes to Stanton's there, just it's pure safety. The bypass is an industrial road around the community, but a lot of people use it for exercise, and I understand that. And I just think we need a walking trail all the way around the bypass along the ditch.
That's great. Great thing to bring up. I know we are waiting on a parks and trails plan too, and so that hopefully stuff like that is involved in that plan when it comes
You know,
forward.
hopefully we can find some funding somewhere for that, because it'd be a nice future walking trail for, instead of the people walking on the road getting dusted out or rocks, or I mean that's there is a lot of people in the last 2 years during COVID. I watched a lot of people walk that bypass, and it's just a thought. We have walking trails everywhere else down the Boot Lake Trail and down at the river, and you know, it'd be nice to add that one in there if we can in the future and find some kind of federal funding or something.
Definitely. Thank you, Councilor Raymond. Anything else under council concerns? Deputy Mayor Bartlett.
Thanks. Just driving around town yesterday, since I'm trying to get outside while I'm in isolation. But just driving around the truck, I noticed it seems more and more we're getting a lot of the really faded stop signs at intersections. I'm not sure why some of them seem to have really faded out till they're almost completely whited out now, but I'm sure the public works guys are looking at that. But do we have plans to replace those faded signs at some point? Particularly, again, we're getting into the dark season. There's going to be a lot of headlights flashing on these things, so being able to make sure people can see them appropriately, just again, public safety.
Definitely. And I know that we did have a portion of the signs replaced this summer. So SEO Hood, I'm not sure you have an update there. I could hazard a guess, but I don't want to do that. So Grant, go ahead if you like.
I don't have a update. You're correct. We did replace a number of signs in strategic locations with the multi-language signs, and but we'll certainly take a look at it, because I would assume then we may have some leftover stop signs from those ones that we replaced that might be in better shape. If you know of certain areas,
yeah.
that specific ones, maybe just if you could send us a note and we can go out and take a look at them.
Yeah, I didn't take note of where I've seen them kind of developing over the last few years, and just again kind of knows there's still a few anyway. I know some of them have been changed out. Do we have any understanding why those ones faded out? Were they just poor quality, or the manufacturer defect or something like that?
I think that's something we'd have to take back to Rick, and Rick's not on the call tonight, but
Yeah, I think if there's a particular issue with that sign or brand of signs, you know, maybe we don't want to buy them from them anymore, type of thing.
alrighty. Alana, your hand is raised. Did you want to say something, or was that just from before?
No, I just wanted to thank Director Campbell and our Kessel for responding so quickly to somebody's concerns about the placement of a garbage bin and it being misused by neighbors. They came up with a solution very, very quickly that was appreciated. So thank you.
Great. And Councillor Wood, go ahead.
I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank Deputy Mayor Bartlett for his time on council. I understand he's not running again. I'll definitely miss him here, and I'm sure council is less without him. I'd also like to thank Mayor Lukowski, who's going to be councillor in the future, I understand. It's going to be good to have the expertise on council. I also want to thank all the councillors who supported me. Much appreciated. And lest I forget, Councillor Salatki, I understand you're not running again either, so I want to thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Wood. We do still have one more meeting to do those sorts of things, but appreciated nonetheless. Anything further under council concerns this evening? Seeing none. So we do have in camera tonight, so I will need a motion to go in camera, please. Made by Councilor Loreen, seconded by Deputy Mayor Barlock. All in favor?
I'm out. I'm in conflict. So.
Okay, thank you. And so we had 3, we can go in camera. We'll just turn off the recording and the